bit about the season that just transpired, what you can take away from it. And again, you put your stamp on this ball club. And going forward, you guys have a lot of positive things to work with.
Yeah, we do. I mean, obviously, after the day after a loss, a Game 7 loss or being knocked out of the playoffs, there's a sting there. And it's hard to look back on when you started and where we had to go from. And I mentioned it yesterday, starting from the team that got swept in the first round to winning the East in the regular season, and then obviously losing disappointingly. And it's like a really famous coach, which I won't name, that I talk to a lot in another sport actually said it, is that, when you set yourself up to where you want to win something big, you're either going to have, a smooth landing to fanfare, or you're going to have a plane crash. It's going to be a crash landing. And but it's worth it. And that's what I told our guys. It's worth it. It's worth the pain. It's worth going through everything we went through. And so I think what we have done is we started to build a foundation to get into where we're going. We thought we were going to get it by taking some shortcuts, and it just doesn't happen that way. And I think our guys will understand that.
Coach, you've got shooters, you have bigs. Some of the ingredients are there, but as you look down the line, what would you like to see going forward next season?
I don't know yet. It's almost too early for me. There's clearly things we have to do better, things we need to change. One of the biggest concerns I had all year is that I thought we got small really quickly once Tobias stepped off the floor at the 3-4 spot. And that's something that I addressed all year. We tried to go out. We just could not find anyone, or make the right move to get that. But I thought that showed in this series. Atlanta went big, and, we were small. Tobias, we played him as much as we could. But so that's an area. But other than that, I just think it's too early. But we definitely, in my opinion, we kind of have a footprint on where we want to do and how we want to do it. We just got to get it done.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck going forward.
Thank you.
Paul Hudrick.
Hey, Doc. We just talked to Tyrese, and I'm just curious, he obviously had a, very good rookie year and a lot to work with there, but what's kind of your overarching message to him for this offseason, and what you want him to work on for next year?
Yeah, I'm not going to get in what I would need him to work on, but I can tell you I'm not worried about him working. There's nobody that outworks him. Him and B-Ball, Paul, are the two hardest working kids, two hardest working young guys that I think I've had in my coaching career. And that's saying a lot. They just work and work and work. And so I think my sit down with Tyrese will be tomorrow, and with Paul. I met with a couple other guys today where we go over all that. But his improvement obviously will be quickly because the way he works. I'm not that concerned with him.
Thanks, Doc.
Mark Narducci.
Doc, have you had your sit down with Ben yet, or is that to come?
No, we've had one today, and we'll have another one in a week, and it was a very good sit down.
You said you want to get in the gym with him, or you want him to get in the gym with you guys. Do you have like a specific program you'd like to see him follow? Or
yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly what we want to do. I'm positive in Ben. I'm very bullish on Ben still. But there's work, Mark. There is, and Ben will be willing to do it, and that's the key. Sometimes you have to go through stuff to see it, and be honest with it. Obviously, what Ben just went through. I can't imagine that, because he has so much greatness around him and all the things that he does. And there's areas that he can fix quickly, in my opinion, and get better in that will take him to another level. And, sometimes you don't know why you're in different places. You know what I mean? but this may be one of them. And I look at this as a great challenge, but definitely a doable one.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Kai Carlin.
Hey, Coach. Earlier, you were just kind of talking about pain and kind of like things you can learn from, the pain of such a loss of a Game 7. What do you think specifically Ben and Joel can kind of look at coming up short again in this Game 7 and the pain kind of driving them moving forward?
Yeah, I think there's several things. Number one, I don't think the average person understands how hard it is to win. It's like you guys didn't win it again. Well, neither did 29 other teams. And as a matter of fact, 29, most teams don't, overall. And you look at the history, very few cities win. Having said that, I believe we can. And I do believe we can. The pain has to drive you, but the will to win has to drive you even more. The pain is one thing. The pain is the necessary evil that you have to go through sometimes to get to a smooth landing. And so, but the will to win has to drive you more, and to do things right. And so those are some of the things that we have to fix still, the culture of this team and around this team. The teaching, or not just the players, but even off the floor staff on driving this entire organization. Like everybody has to be in. And to me, that's what we have to keep trying to improve. And the more we improve that around them, the more they'll do it themselves.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Next, we'll go to Dan Gelston.
Hi, Doc. I'm not saying the two issues were related, but Ben this year had a very public, and I'm sure this, unfortunate situation play out with his family behind the scenes. Did you find that it affected him personally and at all ever on the court?
I can't answer that because I don't know. But listen, it's another example of, and I'm trying to say this right, where players are real people and they have real lives and they have real stuff going on. I have never had to deal with the public stuff that Ben had to deal with my family. But I would say if I had to, it would have affected me in some way or another. I can't tell you if it affected him on the floor or not. I don't know that. I just know it would have affected me in some way. I don't know how. But it's not just Ben. All players have stuff, they do. And it's just part of it too, for a young player, especially, to understand, you have this and then you have this and you still have to do this, even though you have the other stuff. And it's amazing watching guys go through stuff like that or other stuff. And it's amazing how some are able to put it in the compartments and some are not. And as a coach, your job is try to teach the ones who don't do it well to do it well. Because, I'm sure you've had many days where you come to work where probably the home life may not have been a great day. It's just part of it, but you still got to try to figure out a way of doing your job the best as you can. It's just with athletes, it's public. And that's a lot harder. It's so much harder for guys now than when I played. Thank God we didn't have Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff.
But was it something you or people in the organization talked to him about?
Yeah, definitely.
Next, we'll go to Kevin Kincaid.
Doc, I know this was your first season in Philadelphia, and it was Daryl's first season as well. And in a vacuum, you would say #1 seed and a lot of wins. We're happy with that. But the reality of the situation is there's a lot of expectations that you inherited from years before you got here. And I'm just wondering how you weigh, all of that and absorb all of that based on what fans expect over,
but see, I don't know what the expectations were outside. I mean, I don't know what did you have an expectation after losing the first round, we're going to win the title the next year? I don't know what that is, but I had expectations. So I don't really care about anyone else's. I wanted to win a title. I put that expectations out there on purpose and on our team. So we set the bar high. We knew that, and we knew where we were working from, and that's fine. So just because you have expectations doesn't mean you reach them every year. You know, it shouldn't stop you from going after it. If that wants to be a negative thing, you can turn it into that. I don't care. As a group, we have lofty goals here, and that hasn't changed. We didn't reach our goals this year. That doesn't hurt me to say that. I'm fine with that. You know, but we'll be fine, and we're going to keep building so we can reach our goals.
Next, let's go to Noah Levick.
Hey, Doc, you mentioned several times last night that lack of trust was something you noticed in that game. It seemed like for most of this year, this was a team that enjoyed each other's company, liked playing with each other. So why was lack of trust a problem?
Yeah, it happens. You know, they do enjoy each other. This team is a very close team. I think they grew as a group, had a lot of fun together. But in the moment of truth, I thought several times in the playoffs, actually, guys went back to trying to win the game for us. You know, that's not necessarily a negative thing, but it's something that we can grow from and understand that we all have to do it together. You have to keep trusting each other. You have to keep trusting the system. You can't vacate it in a time of need. And that may have been the best teacher of the year for us. You know, like, we will sit back this summer and, you know, at the beginning of next year as a group, and we'll see that. And that will be a great teacher for us. So, but it has nothing to do with that if you're close or not. You can be the closest team, and that happens.
All right, we'll go 4 more questions. We'll start with Tim Bontemps.
Doc, when you say before that you think Ben Simmons is willing to put in the work this summer, I think everybody knows that Ben works on his game, but why specifically do you think that he'll be able to address some of the deficiencies in his game that maybe he hasn't done over the past several years this summer?
Because I believe, without going in detail what we're doing, I believe we know what the right work is and the right type of work and the right way to do it. You know, you can do the work all the time, but if it's not done in the right way and the right type of work, you may not improve. After being here for a year, I really do believe we've identified what and how, and now we have to do the do part. We have to work to do it. It's not going to be an easy job, but it's definitely a job that Ben can do, and I believe that.
And without getting into too many specifics, what exactly do you want that to look like next season on the court?
Well, I think you'll wait and see. You know, I think some of the stuff is obvious. You know, we're not hiding that Ben has to become a better free throw shooter, and you know, a more confident free throw shooter. And if that happens, I really believe a lot of other parts of his game follows. I said that, if you remember, before the season started. First thing I said was, we got to get him to the line 10 times a night, and to want to get to the line 10 times a night. And so we got to put in work so he can get there. But if we can get him there, man, his game goes to a different level.
Thank you.
John Clark.
Hey, Doc, 2 questions about Joel. Number 1, do you know if he is going to have surgery on his knee?
I don't know that. I want to say I don't think so, but I have no idea, John, so I can't answer that.
And second question about him, he gave everything he had, but down the stretch in some of the games, there were some struggles with turnovers and missed shots. How much do you think that had to do with the knee or conditioning? And did the knee affect the types of shots that he was taking?
Yeah, John, I'm going to say I don't know. He clearly wasn't moving as normal Joe did. There's no doubt about that. I think everyone saw that. I don't think it's a conditioning thing. I think it was more, you know, a health thing. But the turnovers are something that we don't want and are very fixable. and they obviously were problematic for us. But I think that those things are very fixable.
Thank you.
2 more questions. First, we'll go to Chris Franklin.
Hey, Doc, you mentioned culture earlier. What aspects of the culture that you've seen so far needs to be changed, and what things concern you? And then secondly, if you had to give a self-assessment of the way that you and the coaching staff had this year, what would it be?
I don't know yet. I always self-assess. I do it every year as a staff, as a group. I will tell you this, it's the best staff I've had, maybe ever. Dan Burks and Dave Yeager and Sam Cassell. I don't think I've ever had a better bench as far as knowledge. I thought we ran just some beautiful things defensively and offensively, overall, but it wasn't good enough, and so the first place, it's like I tell my players, I have this rule when we do our evaluations with the players when we sit down. The only rule is you can't talk about another player. You can only tell me what you think you need to do and what I need to do better. But we can't talk about anyone else. And I start with me all the time on that as our group, and I do that with our staff. So I'm not going to get into detail what we can do better and do, but there's always something. There's always something we can learn. I thought we vacated our offense in the last 2 games, even though we won the last one, the game before. I thought we vacated what we had been doing all year. And, first thing I asked my staff today is why? Why did that happen? What are we doing right? I had a lot of answers to it, but, coaches are hard on themselves. I can guarantee you that.
And real quick about the culture, what is there any specific things?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but I'm not going to get in any of those. But those are areas we're going to improve. I will say that. We've made a huge jump this year in that department, but we have to get better, and we will.
Thank you.
Last question, Crystal Soltas.
Hello, Coach. Hope you're doing well. How optimistic you are about next season with that group of guys?
Well.
You hear me?
I said, of course I'm not doing well. Are you crazy?
No. How optimistic you are about next season, and what would you like to keep from that season and maintaining next season with that group of guys?
Very optimistic about next season. And I would love to keep the style overall that we played, the pace that we played at offensively. I would love to keep the ball movement throughout the playoffs next year, which we lost this year. And defensively, I thought we had a heck of a year. Even last night's game, if you look at the defensive blueprint of that game, their best player was 5 for 23 with lots of turnovers. So I was overall happy with that. There's areas, like I said, size-wise, I think we get small too quick. One substitution, and we're too small. And that was every night all year, and that was a concern for me all year. So we have to improve that in some way. And then, player personnel stuff, I'm sure Daryl and I and Elton will talk, and I'm sure there's things we can get better at that department too.